And this is the way I started out here. We all know I used to own that house over there. If you look at the yard, it's got splurge all over it, front yard and back. Alright, mine does it. The reason my yard doesn't have any weeds or splurge on it as I pan the camera is that just about this time 2 years ago I was forced to do a rework on my yard because my yard was not compliant to the master document grading map, the master grading map for the building. That was the master plan for all the topographical elevations in my lot. But I just want to tell you, I'm heading on down to the police department in Buckeye to order a police report. Not only the police report, but the video and the sound transcript. The video and sound transcript. Because I had to call the police last week. I called them out of the spirit of public safety. And I'm on my way down now because I called yesterday. They said it'll take a couple weeks, but in a couple weeks I hope to have a video and a recording of everything that took place that day. And that video will show why I had to call the police, or I felt it was my civic duty to call the police. I spent 35 years working around airplanes. Airplanes draw a lot of attention as far as personnel and equipment. And you always have to be constantly aware and looking forward as to safety and safety violations and potential safety hazards. Anybody that's worked with their hands or been a blue-collar worker, working anywhere where there's a lot of powerful equipment or loose cables, loose wires, loose pipes, you know that you gotta, what can go wrong will go wrong. So that's why I call the police every day. But this is mine. I own that property there. And I've got well over $100,000 left to pay on this property. The reason I'm making this video is to tell you on the way to the police department, I'm going to stop by the mailbox and I'm going to drop in my dues payments for these two properties. It represents well over $30,000 or $32,000. Probably 30. I've been here, I just did the figuring and I came up to 30,000 plus on 10 years, and I know I've been here 12 years. So I'm going to throw another 2,000 in. It can either be 2,000, anyway, I'm well over $30,000 in to the HOA, and I've never been late on a payment. I've been here for 12 years. I've had these houses for 12 years. I've never been late on a payment. I've never been late on anything. In fact, the sidewalk assessment is paid. A year after I was here, I walked into Buckeye and wrote checks for about $11,000+ in one afternoon, paid off the sidewalk assessment. So there's no wolf at the door as far as these properties. I've made every bank payment on time. One thing I've received, because I've received every bill on time. Any bill I get, whether for the last 12 years that I've been here, has gotten to me in the mail and I paid it faithfully. So there's no paper against the house. The only paper I've had to deal with coming against this house has been generated by HOA. I had pigeons to deal with. For the first 2 years I was here, I had pigeons to deal with. I was able to take care of them after I put the solar panels on all 3 houses. I spent $15,000 a house up front to put solar panels on it, only to find out after I'd made the investment that I could only take the federal on the house I was living in. So I lost $4,500 on the other 2 houses because I didn't live in them. But I did it anyway. It was probably the most satisfying, fulfilling day of my life was when this inspector from Buckeye came out and authorized them to commission these solar panels to start pumping electricity into the grid. I had planned that event for years, long before I ever bought these houses. I knew I was going to go solar somewhere. And I did. My roofs all run east and west the ridge because I picked them that way. I picked them that way because I knew I was going to put solar on them. Well, they got solar on them. That was one investment I made in the house, along with all the other investments, and the solar was all paid. When it's all done, that's all paid for. Everything is free and clear in this house, except the paperwork I keep getting from the HOA. Now I'm going to sit over here, I'm going to talk to you in person, then I'm going to take a walk and tell you how this property is burdened. Well, right here's the sheet. When I had 3 houses, every time I made a payment every 3 or 4 months, it was $815. So $816 every 3 months to have 3 houses, and 2 of them were empty. 2 of them were empty, so for the first 2 years, they were empty more than they were occupied. So every 3 months for the first 2 years that I was here, even though these other 2 houses were empty, for the most part, I still came up with $815.92 every 3 months for 2 years. And that's correct. They were probably empty more than they were occupied for the first 2 years. Now, that's just every 3 months. Now every year, so that meant for the 3 properties, times 4 installments right there, that comes out to $3,263.68. That was a year for 2 years when they were empty more than they were. Well, now if you go, how many years? Well, I was either 8 or 9. I've been here 12 years, but the first, we'll say, I've actually lived here and made payments for 11 years. All this figures was on 10. So I don't know if I slipped a year where I paid $3,200 a year, or was it $2,100 a year? Well, anyway, after 10 years of figuring, it came out to $30,461.28 that I have paid to the HOA in dues, and I've never been late, ever. All right? Now, we either got to add the $3,200, did I have an extra year here, or was it an extra year after I sold that house? I sold that house right after I got out of jail. It was a trip collecting the rent every month with the last tenant I had. I loved the guy, he was the greatest guy in the world, but he had trouble coming up with the rent. And I didn't want to deal with it. Plus I had just got out of jail, my bank account was a little distressed. Since I had to pay a lawyer and pay bail money and all that other stuff, I decided I'm just going to let it go. And I let it go. And I really didn't want to let it go, and I let it go at a lot less than I thought I was going to get for it. I lost the money I spent in the solar panel. That's a wash, that's gone, because I never recovered that money. But I was a little under duress. Like I said, I had just gotten out of jail on an arrest where they had a warrant on my back for 20 months. The town of Buckeye put a warrant on my back over an incident with a golfer. And that golfer came over my property where that cactus is. I had just woke up from working graveyard. And this guy made a beeline from his cart all the way up to where that cactus is. When he got halfway, when he got to where those bushes were, I stepped out the door and I said, "Stop, don't go any farther, this is private property." He blew me off, he walked here. So I escorted him off the property. As I was escorting him off the property, I fell. When he saw I fell, he came back onto my property swinging, swung for my head. Anyway, the cop has the whole report. But anyway, I went off on a tangent, something like Donald Trump last night. Poor Donald Trump. You know, the guy hasn't got skills dealing with water cooler people. He's brutally honest and it gets him in trouble. And that's what happened just now. So getting back, here are your checks. All right? And for the last couple of years, every time I write a check, it's paid under protest. And that's what I'm going to put on, that's what's on these checks. They're paid under protest. Why am I paying under protest? I'm protesting because this house over here was built 3 inches out of code as far as the finished floor elevation, which affects one of the most important utilities of the house, the sewer pipe. The sewer pipe angle, inclination, the head pressure and everything has been compromised. And they haven't got a document that authorized them to lower it. The grading map says you can't lower any finished floor elevation. I have a signed permit where somebody from Hancock or Meritage went in and had some bureaucrat that was probably promoted to that day to that position, didn't have a clue what his responsibility was, and was charged with cooperating with whoever comes out from Sundance. If they're from Sundance, if they're Hancock, if they're Meritage, they know what they do. If they bring in a permit, just sign it, let it go. All right? We're open for business. Well, anyway, the checks are here. I'm going to put them in the mail on the way to the police station to file for the police reports. And I want to tell you with these checks, and I'm going to take a page out of Charlie Waters' book. Charlie Waters gave the town of Buckeye 2 weeks after I was arrested, 2 weeks after I got out of jail. And I had just gone into court where they had told me 6 months in jail, $2,500 fine. I had to go out and spend $5,000 on a lawyer. I had to come up with $500 to get out of jail. So I'm into them now, $5,500, because I got arrested on a warrant that I never knew about. Anyway, we're going to let that go. But anyway, I want to represent, like Charlie said, when Charlie gave $30,000 to the town of Buckeye, he went into a board meeting and he gave the town of Buckeye 2 weeks after I was arrested. 2 weeks after I was arrested and had my first court appearance, Charlie Waters walked into the town of Buckeye board meeting and gave him $30,000. Well, Buckeye's favorite charity, All Faith Charity. And he made a statement when he gave him to the $30,000, and I'll include it in one of my presentations one day. He made the statement, this represents $70,000 that the golf concession at Sundance has given All Faith Charity in the last 3 years. Well, these checks right here represent about $33,000 that I've given the HOA in the last 12 years since I've been here. And I want to let you know and remind you, this is pure net. Pure net. You're making pure net. I don't use your facility. I don't flush toilets. I don't drink water. I don't take showers. I don't work out there. I don't swim in your pool. Check your computer log. I'm never there. I wouldn't go in there. I'm being watched at every point. But I'm letting you know, since I don't have that, that's another way I'm paying in protest. I'm paying for something I'm not getting. And the reason I don't go there is I was here 2 weeks, and you all know the story. They burned crosses in my yard. But anyway, that's what I want to let you know.